Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I'm Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, on this beautiful Sunday, we're going to dive across the pond, if you will, to Britain, to the United Kingdom, the island nation of the United Kingdom, home of some of the strictest gun control laws on the planet. Now, keep in mind, there are guns in the United Kingdom. Flat out, there are. But they're extremely heavily under lock and key. Only the upper crust really has access to them, and it is not a guaranteed right. It is a privilege in the United Kingdom. That's their country. That's their thing. However, here in the United States, it is bred and born into our Constitution. Mostly because Britain had the gun control policies against patriots here in the United States, and we said, nah, we're good. So we wrote it into our founding documents. That's another thing for another video. But what's interesting is, even in that gun control environment in UK, the article that we're going to cover is all about how 5 career criminals in organized crime were able to construct their own rudimentary firearms called a slamfire gun. In the United States, it's called a zip gun sometimes. But it has a direct correlation and tie-in to the United States cities, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, all big-time crime areas specifically around gun violence. And I say gun violence because that's the term. It's really just violence and they use the gun. It's just a tool. But that's the important piece here. We're going to look at this article because there's a direct correlation, as I mentioned, from criminals in the UK going to do what they want because criminal's going to criminal. And then in the same thing in the United States, the only difference is the quality of the tool. It is not the tool itself. Let's dive in. It's linked in the description box below for your review. Gang jailed for improvised, quote, slamfire gun found in a car in Coventry. Now, I'm not going to go too far into the details of a slamfire gun, but essentially, it's a homemade firearm. That's essentially what it is, okay? It's extremely crude, but it is. Kind of like a blunderbuss, like alpha level, like beta level, right? But let's check out what actually happened here in Coventry, United Kingdom. 5 men have been jailed after being caught with a homemade gun in a car in Coventry. Now, this is different than the ghost guns. Boo. This is something where they used much easier to obtain materials, which kind of begs the question, why did they do that, and how were they able to do that if they had extreme gun control laws in the UK? Similar to what the leftists want to do here in the United States, but if they had those laws, how did they do it? They used everyday materials, which you can't make illegal because they're just everyday materials. But that kind of goes back to the ATF and Biden's request to redefine a frame or receiver. It's not a firearm till it's a firearm. Exactly like the everyday common items that they used over there, it wasn't a firearm till it's a firearm. Interesting correlations, but let's keep going. Armed police stopped a vehicle in Caradoc Road in May last year and recovered an improvised firearm known as a slamfire gun. Shotgun ammunition and cartridges were also found in the car, West Midlands Police said. Detective Chief Inspector Leanne Lowe said she was pleased that, quote, the potentially lethal weapon, unquote, had been taken off the streets. Well, there is nothing potentially lethal about these types of improvised firearms, like in every way possible, to the user and also on the other end. But the point here remains the same. If the gun laws existed in the UK that were so strong and so solid, and they're the, quote, European model for gun control, why didn't they work in Europe? Same thing here in the United States. If you've got ultimate gun control with background checks almost every time a legal firearm is purchased, what's going wrong? Because that should be able to catch. Criminals shouldn't be able to get guns, right? Because there's no such thing as a black market. There's no such thing as theft and crime. Because criminals are going to criminal just like tyrants are going to tyrant. You're seeing it on display right now across the entire nation in both of those scenarios. You fill in the blanks there. And the last thing is kind of a definition of what they put out here. A slamfire gun may look different to your typical gun, but it can be just as destructive and harmful in the wrong hands, she added. And that wrong hands piece is the important part. Because even though they have all of the rights clamped down, even though they don't have the firearms in basically the rights system that we have as we in the Constitution, they are coming down and saying, well, we still have these problems, but at least we got this one off the street. If the laws truly worked, it wouldn't have ever been on the streets. Because the problem is not in the tool or the manufacturer or the local gun club. The problem is in the hearts of men who are using tools and science that's hundreds of years old that are achieving their end goals through what they want, nefarious means. And that's why every single day we're passing the blessing of the Second Amendment along to defend against these types of people. Because believe it or not, as much as you don't want to believe it sometimes, there are good and there are bad. The gun reflects the person who's holding it. And that's what I've got for you. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.